वाक् प्राणश्चक्षु श्रोत्रमथो बलमेन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, mind, all sensory and motor organs and the life force become efficient and strong. All is verily the One, all-pervading Absolute, which is bliss itself. Let me never deny this truth of oneness. May this truth never reject me either. May all the virtues necessary to experience this truth in life be with me. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our true nature, our true self, which is beyond any limitation of time, space, or causation. Let us concentrate on this true nature of the self. As a steadily burning candle flame in our heart. It is symbol. Light is the symbol which, though is seen in one point, it spreads everywhere. I am this divine light. I am beyond birth or death. which pervades in and through all the changing illusory waveforms. This is the source of peace. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Abhijit, some problem with this not working. Some authentication issues, it says. Just see. So let us begin with our, no, it is coming from there now. It is not still showing here. Yeah. Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we attain strength together. May our study make us illumined. May there be no dislike between us. Om, peace, peace, peace. So this chapter of Svetasvatara Upanisad, the last chapter, is concerning more about getting the deeper illumination in our heart. The topics as such had been philosophically discussed earlier in the last 5 chapters. But the illumination has to go deep so that our subconscious gets illumined and thus our life gets illumined. Our life is more governed by our subconscious rather than conscious. So it needs to be therefore that the illumination has to reach that level, and it depends on the devotional practices. The practice of devotion as sometimes considered, I really do not know why, but I have seen so many very good devotees thinking of devotion to be against or antagonistic to knowledge. That is not really borne out by the lives of the great proponents of either devotion or knowledge. The great saints have both of them combined very well in their life. It is together just two different ways of putting the apparent, the state of affairs as it is. The facts, they have both. Like when you think of a person, you think of the face, the limbs, the legs, arms, and all that. Also, many qualities which are not apparent, not visible to your eyes. You can, you know that as you think of the person, the intellectual abilities of that person become known to you. So they are different aspects. The person's mind, although is not visible to the eyes, when you think of a person, that also is thought of. So similarly, knowledge and devotion, both are aspects that are together. In the practice, as one has to have a very deep devotional sense or connection to that being. So, therefore, it is expressed here, especially in the sixth chapter, as that one being. You may call that as God, because is the source of all consciousness. The idea of God combines the personal and the impersonal both aspects as manifestation of that divine being. So, in this verse that we were studying actually by at the end of the last class, we stopped because the time was over. It is a verse that is also in Kathopanishad and some other places. That and this idea is throughout in Vedanta a very prominent idea that it is transcendent and immanent in everything. So, न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतोयमग्नि तमेव भान्तम अनुभाति सर्वम तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति. That the sun does not shine there, neither the moon nor the stars. There these things shine not. How then this fire? Because He, the God that is meant by He, shines, everything shines after that. By His light all this shines. That is the source of all illumination. And therefore, your ordinary, the luminous bodies, they cannot illumine that because they are just the reflection of that light. It is the light of the self that illumines everything. It is, and we think sun is the most luminous body in the skies. Yes, to our eyes, yes, that is. But that also is illumined by the light of the self. I love that poem of Hafiz. Hafiz, a great poet of divine love, says that one day he discovered, not that he discovered, one day the sun discovered. Sun discovered it is just a shadow. And what is that huge illumination of which the shadow is so bright? The sun is, if I found out that it is just a shadow. Now think of the light which casts such a bright shadow. So that is the light of the self. and so it cannot be seen by the light of the sun. You cannot use the light of the sun to see that. So that is what is meant here, that the sun or the moon or any other luminous bodies, the stars, cannot see that, cannot illumine that, because their light is just a reflection of its light, and so you cannot expect that to see, just like you cannot see whether the sun is out or not by a candle. It is the candle is very tiny illumination. It cannot illuminate the sun. When sun is out, you don't need a candle to see the sun. So this self is the luminous thing. There is a beautiful discussion in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad about how do we see where the light comes on, the source of all light. So this question was asked to great sage Yajnavalkya, that in what light after all do we see? And then Yajnavalkya replies, well, normally in the light of the sun we see. When sun is set, then what light do we see in? Well, we may see in the light of the moon. When moon is not available, it is neither sun nor moon, then, well, maybe the light of the stars. Even if that is not, when the star's light is not available, what do you do? Well, you burn a lamp, or in the light of the lightning you see. It is that. But if that also is not available, how do you see? Then Yajnavalkya says, then we see like a blind man sees. And the blind person uses the other senses to see, and they manage very well with habit. They are able to cross a busy intersection, walk through a busy intersection. They can do many things. They are not as blind as one can just one thinks. They because they all other senses, they become more powerful with them, and they can therefore sense things. So they see with other senses. So in the absence of all the luminous bodies, one sees as what through the by the help of all other senses. If they are not available, then by what light a person would see? See, the questioner is not giving up, is pressing harder and harder. Okay, if that is not available, even the light of the other senses, then Yajnavalkya says, sees in the light of the mind. And just as you see in the dream, you see in the dream. What light do we use to see in the dream? Just think, this is a deep question actually. That which light do we use when we see the dream? What, Naomi? Do you have any idea what light do we use to see the dream? We do not have any other light going on. When you sleep, most probably you take out your these glasses also, and then still you manage to see the dream quite well. It is what light do you see the dream with? So that is the light of the mind, which is still on even when the lights of not only sun, moon, and lamps and all that, but even when the light of the other sense organs is not available, because behind them is the light reflected by mind. If the mind's light is switched off, hmm, if the light of the mind is switched off, then none of these lights will be able to illumine. So, therefore, the light of the mind is the one that we used to see, and that is available even when there is no sun, no moon, nothing. So, but this questioner digs further. Suppose there is no light of the mind is available, even when the light of the mind is switched off, then is there a way to see for anybody? And Yajnavalkya, I am skipping one or two minor steps here in that discussion. It is Yajnavalkya replies, in the light of the self. And before that person, a lady, could ask another question, he immediately puts a lid on that, saying that the light of Atman can never be absent. It is Swayam Jyoti, the beautiful word. It is self-luminous. That is the only light. That is the light. It is self-luminous. And therefore, there is no coming and going of that light. It is Atman or the self. When Atman is means its power of shining, that too is there. It is self-luminous. It doesn't get illumined by any borrowed light. So that is the light that we are talking about. And by that light everything is illumined. Whether light as regular light or any other form of energy or awareness, everything is perceived, everything is sensed in the light of the self. That is present in everything. This is a method of finding the common factor that is responsible for something that has happened. Like in these criminal stories, there have been some crimes going that went on in a neighborhood, and then the detectives, they see that they are done probably by the same person, because there is this common link there, and the method seems to be the same. And so there must be some person. So who was present in all those circumstances? These places were different, circumstances were different, but who was the single person who was present all over? So they check. These days there is that those cameras, CCTV cameras. So they'll study from all those places. Who is the person that was there at the time of crime? Who were all those people? And try to find a common feature, common person that figured in all of them. And then they zero on that person. So that is how they catch hold of that person. So here we see that what is the common principle that was there in all our perception. That must be the most responsible thing, most responsible item for our being conscious. What was there common when you were seeing in the daytime, you were seeing, say, this township. Okay, what was illuminating then? But that was the sun, but that was not present when you were, say, in at night you were reading book. It was not present then. It was another lamp that you were using. Like now we are using these lamps. The sun has set long back. So it is, we are seeing in the light of this. So sun was not the common factor. Then when you are, say, dream, you are asleep. So these lights also are not used for seeing. So what is, but you certainly saw the dream. I mean, that is, you cannot dispute that fact. So it's the same, something was commonly there. So what was that which was common, whose light was the responsible thing to see? What was making it, making you see everything? You were there, isn't it? In all these, you were the common factor. Ah, do you realize this, Millie? Yeah, you were the common factor in all these. So the light must be sourced in you. Mm. Imagine, that is the common factor. If this I is not there, none of this will come. I am looking, say, in the daytime, I was walking and I was looking at this. Anything you think that this church building in the daytime, I was looking, I was there. Can you dispute that fact? Had you not been there, how could you see it? You were there. You were not absent there. Think of that. Then when you were reading book, you thought that the lights are responsible for that. But were you absent? If you are absent, then there is no reading possible. You have to be there. In dream, again, you were there to see. Have you seen any dream in which you were not there? Impossible, Impossible. You have not seen any dream in which you were not there. What, Vishwanath? You must have seen many dreams. Yeah. So you were there to see the dream, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But it is a very interesting fact that we overlook, that even in dream I was there. Even in the state of deep sleep that you were there, because you recognize after you wake up. In the deep sleep there is no instrument for your registration of it. But when you wake up, then you realize that I was fast asleep. Somebody came inside the house when the doors were supposed to be all closed. I asked that person, how did you come in? Well, I pressed the doorbell and Abhijit opened the door for me. Then I said, oh, I must have been fast asleep at that time. So it is, I was there, only I was fast asleep. So it is, this is the common factor that illumines everything. I am. I am. In Dakshinamurti Stotra, that very beautiful hymn to the Guru by Shankaracharya, one of the very deeply philosophical and devotional hymn, that Dakshinamurti Stotram. It describes that in all these different states, Balyadeshvapi Jagradadeshu Tatha Sarvastvavasthasvapi Vyavrittasvanuvartamanamahmiti Antasfurantam Sada. That all the different states that you are experiencing, the other factors, they change. They are not same. So, uh, you are seeing, say, Providence train station. You were seeing it some time back, but you are not seeing it now. So that is not the part, the common aspect of your perception. You were a child at one time, and you certainly, if as somebody asked you, how old are you, dear? What's your age? You may say that I am 4 years old. Hmm. But after another 4 years, you won't say that. It is because that 4 year old is gone, but you still are there. You were 6 month old, you were 2 year old, you were 4 year old, you are 90 years old. Still, what has survived? The states have changed. What has survived in the whole process? Think of that. Ahamiti antaspurantam sada. In you were awake, you were there. You were dreaming, you were there. In deep sleep, you were there. You said, I was fast asleep. When somebody came in, I didn't hear the doorbell. I said, I was fast asleep. I wouldn't say that Yona was fast asleep. Well, that it is not my perception, you see. It is, I am always there in every single perception. Do you see that? So, I am always there. Let us remember this central idea, that the presence of I as illuminator of every single thing, that is there. So, that shines, and everything shines with that light. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Anubhati means it shines, and with that shine, everything else correspondingly reflect that power, that shine. So this is how the primal nature of this self is being described. It does not need any other thing to manifest. It is some time back, a gentleman, I had gone to another city, and he has been a physicist, and always thinks that, well, physics should one day be able to discover the all pervading self. He has the conviction that it is, and I said, no, it will then not remain physics, it will become metaphysics. If at all you want to use the word physics, it is because the light of physics is basically limited by the light of your sense organs. No, but now we have instruments to see what is going on in the brain, and we can catch the consciousness there. I said, no, my dear, it is what you catch is only the reflection of your senses. Your senses have to work, isn't it, to see that kaleidoscope or whatever other instrument that you attach to the brain and see the waves there. So it is they you attach those instruments like you are seeing, say, through MRI. By MRI, you will be able to see all the vibrations in the brain. Okay, excellent. What do you get by that? Who sees those vibrations? You are seeing those vibrations. So, how can it show you the self? Self is not visible through any of these means. Let us remember that. It is just a futile exercise. I mean, it has other utilities. I am not going into that. It is a good study. People like to study that, and it is good that let us have the records, the scan records of a person meditating and a person just playing basketball. Come on. Uh, how their brains are acting differently. Good, their brains will be certainly acting differently because the physical activity being different, the activity of the brain also will reflect that. That's about it. But that doesn't tell you that the self is in that particular point of the brain. It is everywhere. It is there even in the instrument that you are using. It is there in the mind of the person who is looking at those instruments. All that is pervaded by the self, illumined by that self. Again, this whole idea is to make us feel the greatness of that and thereby get devoted to it. To feel that, see how closely we are connected. And so the love is to be directed there. Have more loving connection with that who is your companion of all times. Other companions or partners or whatever your close relative, they all come and go. It is my child, so near to me. Well, sometime the child will be with you. After some time, it will go away. There will be even no feelings left about that. It is because they are all temporary things. They are not real loves. Real love is the love of the self who never leaves you. The God, your true self, never ever leaves us. And therefore, the love should be directed to that. That is the idea that by His shine, everything else shines. It is that now it is shown in the next verse that एको हंसः भुवनस्यास्य मध्ये स एवाग्निः सलिले सन्निविष्टः तमेव विदित्वा अतिमृत्युमेति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते यनाय. The one destroyer of ignorance in the midst of this universe. He alone is the fire which is stationed in water. Realizing Him alone, one overcomes death. There is no other path for emancipation. So, this is the idea that Eko Hamsaha, that one being who is the source of all knowledge. Hamsaha means that it is Hamsa literally means a swan, a bird who is in water. That swan who is in the water, therefore the word water also comes. So this is the body, the universe, and in the midst of that, imagine the self. And when you focus on that, all knowledge, all ignorance is destroyed. The knowledge flashes. So, in that sense, it is told that that is the only source of life. It is when you see that I am alive. We all know that I am alive. Can a dead man say I am alive? No, can't say the very fact. If somebody says I am dead, that means what, Charlie? He is alive, you know. It won't say that I am dead. So it is this, that I, the source of life. It is in this material. Oh, what am I? Am I the nose? I remember that incident in our that in villages I used to go with our mobile dispensary. A wonderful experience. For many years I was put into that work. Giving lectures was not my work then. It is to uh, manage that dispensary. And then and the doctors would write the prescription, and then uh, many times it was for me to dispense the medicine. Or yeah, so I would call out the name on the that paper that doctor writes prescription on. Hey, this person. So that person would then come. One small girl was there. So I called her name, and she come saying that, hey, I am. Who is? Then I pointed to her nose. That this are you. This is which one is? I forgot what her name, Nina or something. Is this Nina, or this eyes Nina, or the ear Nina, or the lips Nina, or your hand Nina? Who are you? Who are all these? You know, they, and the little girl naturally got confused. Forget that little girl, even we grown ups will feel confused. Who am I? It is, who am I? It is all matter. But in the midst of that, it is all pervaded with a conscious living being, that is I. I am that conscious entity, because of which, although separately they are not, they are just matters. It is, suppose they you say I am ear, this is I. If it gets cut, then it is just a piece of matter. Are you that? You will say no, I am not that. It is lot of things take to have that connection with I. It is the common that problem after a surgery where a limb is amputated, and another that prosthetic limb is implanted there. Now, for a patient, it takes quite some time to understand that that is I. And we are used to now say this leg, I am that. Somebody pulls at it, don't pull my leg, you would say. Some are very good at pulling legs, isn't it? Okay. So it is. So it is like that leg, my leg. But when it is say a artificial leg joined to you, now you don't think that it is you. In fact, in some surgeries, the same leg is some fixed and put back. It takes time to get that neural connections established, and so it is recorded by some physicians, neurophysicians, that the patients sometimes tell the nurse, uh, who put somebody's leg is in my bed, take it away. Now that is that person's leg. Uh, yeah. By the way, the nurse or attendant brings the tray of breakfast, and this man says, thank you. And by the way, when you come to collect the dish, there is somebody's bed lying in my, somebody's leg lying in my bed. Please take it with you when you collect this. Now that is not somebody's leg, it is that person's leg. Now, when you get connected with I, then that also becomes alive. It is otherwise, it is all matter. Is heart alive? Well, it is just a pump. In not too distant a future, I think you can buy another heart from a medical or that kind of store. In CVS, they will prescribe you, the doctor, well, the heart needs to be changed, get another one, and you may go and buy another heart and plug it in. So it is now, is that heart you? No, it is some piece of matter there. Then you point out, I am here. So where are you? It is all, everything is you, and you are still beyond everything. So that is the source of life. This water here, the swan in the water, that's a very beautiful analogy, very poetic. Therefore, swan in Vedanta is always the sign of the self, who is the source of life, who is the source of knowledge. Do you see in the emblem there? There is the swan in the water. And then we say, therefore, may that swan inspire us. Tanno Hansa Prachodayat. That Hansa is a great analogy. In the water, this water is all material. All the matter is just water kind of grossified. So all matter is indicated by water. So it is said therefore that in the beginning the self alone was, and this whole thing then was just water. So it is water is that signifies all matter. And then what is the fire? This swan is described as fire also, because it burns all your sins, all your karma gets burned when you are in touch with the self. It is, I am the self, then all your karma is gone. That is the only way to burn all karma. That many times we say that Swami, well, Swami also says the same thing. It is, I have to, get over so much of baggage of karma is there. How can I have liberation till all that karma is gone, is worked over? It is, that is, as such it will never go, because everything that you do to remove your karma becomes a karma. It is there is no way of erasing the karma in this manner. It is, you will replace one karma by another karma. It is that it is somebody asked me, Swami, if I do this work, then can my karma of 4 lives, my 4 lives be removed? Well, 4 lives may be removed, but another 4 lives will get added to it. But when you connect to the self, mm, then all your karma is burnt away, because you realize that you are not the doer. Everything is just your glory. Self is all that is. Let us try to feel this, friends, that is the only way to uh, remove all karma. Otherwise, every action will generate it. Good actions will generate good karma, because of which you will enjoy, you will go to enjoy the heavenly pleasures. If you do some bad actions, sinful actions, you will suffer for that. So this is, but you will not get liberated either through good karma or bad karma. What will liberate us from karma is our devotion to Lord. And that devotion, I am God, you are my all in all. I belong to you, you belong to me, and nobody else belongs to me. Nothing else is mine. You alone are mine. And that is the idea that this is Swan. Tameva viditva mrityumeti. That therefore, knowing this self, you go beyond death, beyond birth, beyond death, beyond all karma. You are free now. So this is the very important idea expressed here. So now it is Savishvakrit Vishvavidatmayoni Karo Guni Sarvavidyah प्रधान क्षेत्रज्ञ पतिर्गुणेशः संसार मोक्ष स्थिति बंध हेतु. He is the creator of everything as well as the knower of everything. He is his own source. He is all knowing, and he is the destroyer of time. He is the repository of all good qualities and the master of all sciences. He is the controller of matter and spirit and the lord of gunas. He is the cause of liberation from the cycle of birth and death and of bondage which results in its continuance. So this is that Lord. This is a very special feature of Vedanta, that last line. Then he brings liberation, but who created bondage? Let us have a clear answer. This is the creator of bondage, and this is the creator of liberation. No, same, they, even when you are bound, it is that one who is the creator of that. It is, if you know, then the bondage disappears. But there is no separate creator of bondage. That alone, in its reflection, makes for the bondage. There is no other source of bondage either. There is just one without second reality. Many religions, you see, have to struggle with this very difficult problem. That so you have to have a devil in Christianity who makes all the bad things. God makes all the good things. Yeah, and what will you do with the so many bad things that the world has? That you cannot say that they don't exist. They are matters of fact. They are experienced every day. So who made all those bad things? God. No, you shiver. How can the good God make all the bad things? You mean to say even those cruel people like Genghis Khan and Hitler and whatnot, they were also made by God? No, it must be devil who has made these. Vedanta disapproves that. It is Vedanta says no, it is the same God who made Jesus, also made those who crucified Jesus. No two different creators. It is a very interesting idea that we have studied a few times here, that the God is all this play, this drama. It is the central stage, which is the drama is being played on. It is the same stage, and in drama you have to have some villain, so that that hero will have some work to do. If there is no villain, there is nothing that the hero can do. It is, I remember that one devotee, Dorothy, she also writes plays. So she wanted to write a play on Ganesha, Lord Ganesha. And she came one day and said, Swami, I don't think I can write a play on Ganesha. Why? Because there is nothing, no conflicts, in the life of this Ganesha. In the story of Ganesha, there are no conflicts. And therefore, to have a drama, you have to have conflicts. So then it becomes interesting. So it is the same drama that has to have the good and the bad. There have to be Jesus and the crucifiers of Jesus. Without that, imagine, that is why the Easter is celebrated as the most important Christian festivals, even more than Christmas. It is the Easter. Why? That is the God resurrected, Jesus resurrected. But unless he was crucified, how could he resurrect, you see? The whole narrative of Christianity depends on this, resurrection. And so that resurrection was made possible by crucifixion. So, and those who crucified, therefore, are as important to Christianity as Jesus is. You can't escape that. Vedanta does not try to skirt around that. Yes, it is admitted that all so called good and so called bad, all the saints and sinners, they are caused by the same one divine being. Yeah, you can't escape this, you see. It is, yeah, it is, there is no other source for him. If not, we are faced with that problem of multiple sources, It is, and then two different, one good and the other evil. They created their own universe, and that problem, that mill, brought, that philosopher Mill, John Stuart Mill. He said, therefore, the existence of evil just proves that God does not exist as the all powerful being and all compassionate being. Everybody says all God is all powerful and all compassion. Then, if there is so much of evil which is matter of fact, it is not subject to dispute. It is matter of fact there is evil in the world. Then either God uh, consciously allowed it to be, then God is not compassionate or evil God made. And if God didn't want it, but in spite of God's not wanting, it has come there, then that God is not all powerful. Either way, and that means God does not exist as a compassionate and all powerful being. Anyway, so this is the next verse. We will just read and discuss it in the next class, because now it is 8:29. And this, yeah, just a second. And this is, this verse is quoted in the beginning by Swami Vivekananda in his book on Bhakti Yoga. And the devotion, the lessons on devotion begin with the quote of this verse. This is full of devotion. Satanmayo yamrita isha sanstho Nyas sarvago bhuvanasya gopta yaishesya jagato nityameva nanyo hetur vidyata ishanaya. He is the soul of the universe. He is immortal and his is the rulership. He is the all-knowing, the all-pervading, the protector of the universe, the eternal ruler. None else is there efficient to govern the world eternally. So we shall just meditate for 10 seconds, and then if you have a question, please ask. Yes, Carol? Very, very important observation. Free will. The free and will cannot go together. Our will is really not free. Willing depends on something that governs our will. Our presence is primary. I am, therefore I will. It is not as the Schopenhauer presented. Swami Vivekananda pointed out this mistake in Schopenhauer's understanding of Vedanta. Schopenhauer says, uh, uh, because I will, I am. Swamiji says, or Vedanta says, no, you will because you are. Your presence is primary. You may not will and still you are. So it is free will is in a way oxymoron. Yeah. Yeah, you are. That is a wonderful reading, of Bible, which is, it sounds like ego if you see the God as a being sitting outside and like a ringmaster with a whip in the hand saying, "Hey, do this. This is my show. Come on. If you do something different from that, then I am going to punish you." It is not that. If you see that God manifested as all that, it is just God's show, in the sense that there is nothing apart from God. So it is that play is all God's play. That therefore the evil, it is that the fruit of that forbidden tree, the tree of knowledge. It is so beautiful, sublime an analogy, that it is knowledge means what? As long as they didn't know, there was no sin possible. No means here, the word know refers to the knowledge of separation, I and the world. When there is no such separation, no sin possible. And now I, world, and then sin is automatic. Even that fragmented or fractured awareness, I and mine, that is the original sin. That is why it is called original sin, eating this fruit of the tree of knowledge. Original sin. Everything then proceeds with that, but they behind that awareness is there, that actually God alone is everything. That mistake of I and the world is the problem, and therefore to we have to see this truth, that there never was any I and the world. There you are liberated. Uh, you can say that if you want to use the word ego. uh, that not interference, that being pervades everything. It is like the screen pervading everything, in the movie. The screen pervades everything that you see in the movie. Mm. Do you see that? So that screen is everything actually. Whatever is you see is the screen. So similarly, that God is everything in reality, in actuality. So this is what is meant by that. That it is. Oh, again this has gone, but I think I will be able to fix it this time, or no? Mm. Yes, most of the times I use that word as interchangeable. To put a Sanskrit word in English is always a challenge. That one language, another language, and also the word Atman, as well as the word self, in different contexts used differently. So it is the Taittiriya Upanishad uses it like here also you see that the same Atman. Now you see Yogatmananda is actually the same Atman appearing in and through this body. Mm. So this also is Atman. But this Atman is not at all different from any other Atman except in name and form. So that is the idea, that it is. So when you see it in a particular body, you call it by that name, that this is Swami and that is Carol. But it is actually two different names of the same self. Same self appears as this and this and this. So it is the same clay appearing somewhere as a cup, somewhere as a jar, somewhere as a big barrel. So, but the clay is the same. Mm. So that the same self appearing in all different forms without any change. Mm. Kind of difficult idea, isn't it? Yes, Millie. It is sometimes the translation is like soul, means the innermost reality of something, that gets called as soul, and in that sense it is Atman. Atman is the soul. But then, as many times, why the word soul is not used and the self is preferred, is that the word soul gets identified with mind, and that this mind and soul are confused together. And so, in a limited individuality gets called as soul. That, like you say, you hurt, my soul is hurt. So, there is the Atman hurt. No, Atman is not hurt. The soul means the mind is hurt, you know. It is the soul in the self in the form of mind that gets called soul there. You uttered such bad word to me. You leveled such allegations on me. It hurt my soul. Yeah. You hurt my feelings, isn't it, Naomi? You hurt my feelings. Yeah, so there the word is used at soul. So, therefore, to separate from that, this word is used self, the Atman, and such things. Yeah. Hello? Yes, please. Well, there is no answer to that except that God is the beyond all creations. God is all powerful, and therefore that cannot be questioned also by you. There is no answer to that question, that yes, God made the good as well as bad. And the answer to that question is our misunderstanding that God should be only good, compassionate, and so forth. That God need not, why you think that God has to be compassionate? It is a relative term to be compassionate. It is funny, you know. For example, you show compassion to somebody. You are, say, suffering from some physical ailment, maybe a disease which needs to be cured by giving you an antibiotic. Now that antibiotic was giving that antibiotic was a compassionate act, uh, but it killed so many bacteria. For them it was you know mass destruction. It was not compassionate to them. The idea of compassion is very relative to some act. It is compassionate for somebody, same action is not compassionate for somebody else. Therefore, to think of God only as compassionate is soothing, but philosophically untenable idea. It is soothing and helpful for practice of devotion, and so can be used. but that cannot be taken as the definition of God, that God who is compassionate. Not necessary. Why should God be compassionate? In fact, according to Vedanta, if God is everything, where is the source this compassion? The compassion requires a sense of, a kind of condescending attitude. Okay, you did this thing wrong, but I will be compassionate to you. Instead of pronouncing death sentence on you, compassionately I will give you life imprisonment. Now that kind of a condescending attitude is comes by compassion. That okay, I will be compassionate to you. I will take a more lenient view of your offenses. Is it compassion that God needs to give? God is in all of us, in everything. So that idea, therefore, removes this thought of even being compassionate. It is that God is compassionate is therefore the idea itself is flawed except as a source for devotional connection with God. Would you say that if your left hand gets a scratch and right hand applies an ointment there, would the left hand think, oh, this right hand is so compassionate, it applied ointment on me, and then I will wait for an opportunity to return the favors. Let right hand get wounded quickly so that I can return the favors quickly. So it is that idea of a compassionate God needs to be, looked into in proper perspective. That's all. Yeah. There is no other answer to that. The argument that the John Stuart Mill presented, you can't argue. Yeah, it is. You cannot have a God who is compassionate in that sense and all powerful too. Unless you accept that because of compassion at a higher level you can think like that, that because God very compassionately put so much suffering in the world that because of that people will get dispassion. Their dispassion, when you have suffering, then you want to get away from it. Now, that if the world has so much suffering, then you can think, well, I need liberation from this. I don't want to get into it. It is only when we get the feeling of suffering, then we want to get emancipated, get out of it. So, in a way, if you can think of God as compassionate, you have to take this suffering also as the compassion of God. And the saints have done that in the lives of saints. It is like that. Oh, thank you for bringing sufferings to me so that I can think about you. It is so difficult to think of God, especially when the things are all very nicely going on in life. Nothing seems to be missing. Everything is quite good. I have a nice job. I earn enough money, and things are all right. It is then not easy to think about God. You don't feel the need for God. When you have this suffering, then you feel that I need God. So, in that way, you can look upon a compassionate God who has, out of the bountiful heart and compassion, has kept so much of suffering in the world. Yeah. Yes, Carol? Huh? Yeah. God is love. Yeah. 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 Well, this suffering is a part of the creation. God loves everything, and God loves therefore the sufferings also. Mm. God did not make God is Atman. God did not make anything. Everything is God, and so the suffering also is God. Uh, yeah, and that also is part of God, you know. That also is not separate. That also is God. Because whose is the Maya? Maya also belongs to nobody but God. That is the burden of this verse. That also is part of or the expression of God. If you have otherwise two sources, that is not right. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. Huh? Huh? Oh, you have a question? Okay. Well, that is a good way of that. Why do I get suffering? It is God has chosen me for suffering. Make through suffering make connection with God. That is the utilization of suffering. Mm. Then there is no suffering, you know. Yeah, there is no suffering. Mm. Okay, yeah, we shall continue to discuss this verse later. Next class. Om Shanti 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 Hare Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.